Hello, everybody, and welcome to Collector Legion's YouTube channel. And here we are today to talk about the first weekend of results with Kamigawa Neon Dynasty cards. I'm here with Eli Loveman, the Pro Tour champ, the Rivals League player, the whatever else you want to call him. We're going to jump right into it here. We've got the modern events of the weekend and some of the cards that you want to play in modern. Eli, take it away with, I guess, the biggest of the cards from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, those channel lands.
Yeah, so the cards that are going to be the most have the most wide impacted modern are probably going to be the channel lands. I think we've seen Beseiju kind of take off as one of the most hyped cards in the set. It's very versatile. It kills lands, artifacts, and enchantments, and its ability to be bought back with Ren 6 makes it really powerful in modern. I think that, however, that although Beseiju is kind of the most hyped one in the set, Otawara, the blue one that bounces stuff, is also going to be very played. It's kind of difficult because not every deck can play these lands. They look like, oh, you just take out a land and it just taps for mana. There's no downside, but modern mana bases are stretched really thin right now, so it's not quite as easy as just shoving a bunch of these in your deck.
So there was a very clear winner this weekend, whether it was Luris in some of the tournaments, but we've had a lot of events here. We had the Modern Challenge, we had the Modern Showcase Challenge that feeds into the mocks. We had the NRG Series $10,000 trial in Milwaukee, which was the first paper event with all these cards since they came out. Tell me a little bit about why Hammertime might want to play the Lion Sash, but also the other card that people were debating whether or not would make it in, but it seems like it's very good in the deck, the Reality Chip. So go through both of these legendary artifact, creature, equipment, X creature type cards.
A bit jellyfish.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Lion Sash was the one that kind of caught everybody's attention, and that's mostly because it was very comparable to an already playable modern card, which is Scavenging Ooze, and it's cost white, and you can search for it with Stoneforge Mystic. So everybody thought oh, this card's gonna be great at Hammertime, but that's kind of not really what Hammertime is about. You're not always trying to take out your graveyard, make a big creature, and then hit you with my 5/5 after I paid 3 mana to pump it. No, it's not really what Hammertime's about. Hammertime's about being explosive, and that's where the Reality Chip comes in. Because if you play the Reality Chip and you equip it for free with Sigarda's Aid or Pure Steel Paladin, you have a 2 mana future sight, and your curve in that deck is so low that you can really easily pop off. If you just play it on turn 4 with 2 lands available, and you just hit Springleaf Drum, Memnite, tap it for mana, play a Stoneforge Mystic, and then you've already 3 for 1 your opponent.
That's really kind of like the nightmare scenario for people like me, because I just really want to kill all their stuff. And then they just play this and they have all their stuff back. It's kind of insane, but we'll see how people adjust and react in modern. Speaking of adjusting and reacting in modern, there was in the Modern Showcase Challenge, which you can check all of these deck lists out on the modern section of MTG Goldfish or on the official Wizards website. We'll leave links in the description for you to click on them if you want to follow along with us here. But we had 2 decks that were 4-color Living End decks. Is this just people thinking that they can catch people off guard with less graveyard hate, or is Living End actually here to stay with the new what was it called, the
Colossal Sky Turtle?
Colossal Sky Turtle? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So Living End in second and third place in the biggest event of the weekend. Yeah, I think Living End is one of those decks where if people aren't playing a ton of endurance, then you can get people. You're really vulnerable to endurance, but if they're not having that, it's just a very really powerful deck. As far as new cards go, once again, Ottawara, not Ottawa,
Ottawa, Canada.
Yeah, Ottawara is kind of perfect for Living End because it's really hungry. It's really hungry for blue mana sources because it wants to cycle a bunch, and then It really wants a way to deal with hate permanence without paying too high of an opportunity cost. You've seen Brazen Borrower in these decks before, just to kind of like bounce your Leyline of the Void or whatever. So the blue channel land is really good in this deck. The Sky Turtle itself, the regrowth mode probably won't come up a lot, but then just like the unsummon, it lets you interact a little bit more, which is something that Loveman never really was good at doing. You kind of just cycled and then did your thing and hoped it was good enough. Now you can slow your opponent down, which is kind of perfect for this deck.
So at the top of the tournament in Milwaukee at the NRG series, we had Hardened Scales, which didn't have any new cards, but there is a card that you think they could that could slot right in to these Hardened Scales decks, maybe even some sort of affinity deck. That is the Patchwork Automaton. It is an uncommon from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I said before we started recording that it reminded me a little bit of Champion of the Parish, so this fits right in with that trophy you have up there. But why would this one slot in over some of the other cards in the deck list? It seems like this is a pretty tight deck list already.
Yeah, so we've seen Hardened Scales go from mono green to green white for the inclusions of Esper Sentinel and Ingenious Smith. And this card kind of reminds me of Ingenious Smith, except that it's way more aggressive and less card advantage-y. You get a +1/+1 counter when you play an artifact, just like Ingenious Smith. However, you get it for each artifact you play, not just the first one on your turn. So you can really go nuts with this thing. If you go Hardened Scales and then play this guy on turn 2, and then play some free artifacts, maybe a Welding Jar, it's already a 3/3, and then it just goes crazy from there. Ward 2 is also, I think, kind of underrated. Just like taxing their mana, especially if you're vulnerable to a card like Fury, making them actually pay mana for their spells, like if making them pay mana for their Fury and their Solitude, like actually turns it into a real magic card and not just force of will for your creature. So I think this card might be able to see play instead of Ingenious Smith in that slot.
So for Modern, it was really not a story of the permanence besides the reality chip. It was more of about these lands. Some of these decks got powered up, some of them didn't, like Grixis Death Shadow didn't really get anything because their mana base is 19 lands and they can't afford to fit swamp and an island that doesn't deal you damage in it. Other decks like the 4-color Omnath decks of the world, the Ren and 6 decks of the world, got powered up a little bit with Boseiju and some of the other lands. Blue-white control here, just going over some of the smaller cards. Blue-white control played the new Planeswalker, what's it called?
The Wanderer or something, the Wandering Emperor.
The Wandering Emperor. We had one copy of that in the original, just the modern challenge. It's a little confusing if you look at it. There's the modern showcase, the modern challenge, but they're all relatively, prestigious tournaments here that people are getting results with. A lot of Murktide Regent stuff. So where do you think Modern goes from here? Do you think it's people are going to react more to seeing that 4-colored Living End? Are people going to react more to these lands and maybe play things that they're not as good against? Or are people going to react to the Hammertime decks and try to hate on those? What do you think? Where do you think Modern is going from here?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of green sideboard cards are going to go up in value. You want Endurance for Living End, and you want Force of Vigor for Hammertime. I think a lot of people might be tempted to say, oh, well, I have Boseiju, so I don't need so much artifact hate. But really, Force of Vigor is good because it catches you back up on tempo against Hammertime. And Boseiju gives them a land back in return. So it's like, Boseiju is great, but it's kind of, sometimes it's Assassin's Trophy, and we saw what happened with that card. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful.
Well, I think that'll do it for the Modern roundup here. I guess for this weekend, I'm just going to recommend you play 4-color Omnath with a lot of the hate cards in your sideboard. Maybe cut some of those Veil of Summers for, like what Eli said, get some artifact hate in there. What would you recommend playing for this weekend, Eli?
I definitely think the reality chip is going to be crazy, and you might want to do it before people catch on.
Well, that'll do it from Eli and I to you guys. Make sure you go to collectorlegion.com to get all the singles you need for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. They opened a million packs to get everything out there. You can have it shipped to your door, and the shipping prices are great. The prices on the site are great. And Eli and I will see you again real soon. Thanks for watching.